Some connections defy time, space, and even logic. They appear, disappear, and return, always with a strange sense of familiarity, as if the soul never forgot. You meet someone, and something unexplainable stirs inside. Maybe it's brief, maybe it's chaotic, maybe it ends abruptly, but then, sometimes after years in ways you never expected, they cross your path again. Is it coincidence, destiny, or something deeper? Carl Jung believed that every encounter holds meaning, and that the unconscious often leads us to what we need for our growth. What if the people who leave and return aren't just part of our story, but catalysts of our transformation? This isn't about romance or nostalgia. It's about the profound psychological pull between two souls meant to meet, learn, and evolve together. If you've ever felt this pull, comment below. I believe in soul crossings. Let's explore the hidden forces that draw us back to each other. Carl Jung's analytical psychology offers a profound lens through which to understand the mysterious reunions between two people who seem destined to meet again. At the heart of this lies the concept of individuation, the lifelong journey toward becoming whole by integrating all aspects of the self, including those that are unconscious or repressed. Often, the people we are drawn to mirror the very parts of us we have not yet integrated. Jung called this the principle of projection. We unconsciously project our own inner world onto others, especially in intense connections. When two people are chosen by the universe, so to speak, it may be because they carry pieces of each other's shadow, the hidden, often denied aspects of the psyche. These relationships stir deep emotional responses, not because they are easy, but because they challenge the ego and awaken the soul. The anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine within each of us, also play a critical role. When we meet someone who reflects these inner archetypes, the attraction is magnetic, almost mystical. But what begins as enchantment often shifts into conflict or distance as the unconscious demands growth, not comfort. Separation may be necessary, yet when transformation occurs, when each person evolves independently, they may find each other again, this time from a place of inner maturity. So when two people cross paths again after time apart, it may not be random at all. From a Jungian perspective, it's the psyche's deeper intelligence guiding each soul toward greater wholeness. The universe, then, becomes a symbol for the self, the totality of the psyche, orchestrating encounters that are essential for psychological evolution. In this view, reunions are not mere fate. They are opportunities for conscious integration, healing, and profound awakening. There is a reason why certain people feel unforgettable, even long after the relationship has ended. From a Jungian lens, this phenomenon can be traced to the magnetic pull of unresolved psychological material, what Jung called unfinished inner work. When the universe seems to bring two people together again, it is often not because of a cosmic romance, but because their inner journeys remain intertwined at the unconscious level. Each carries within them emotional imprints, unmet needs, and parts of the psyche that have not yet been fully seen or integrated. These fragments, unprocessed and raw, often search for expression through others. When two individuals first meet and feel an inexplicable connection, that intensity usually signals an unconscious resonance. It's not necessarily love at first sight, but a recognition of something buried deep within. The psyche senses familiarity, not through the intellect, but through symbols, emotions, and instinct. In many cases, what draws two people together is not simply compatibility, but shared psychological wounds or mirrored patterns. The unconscious recognizes in the other what the conscious mind has yet to fully grasp. This magnetism can be as painful as it is powerful. It's the kind of attraction that pulls at the soul, sometimes with longing, sometimes with confusion. One person may activate old fears of abandonment. Another may mirror suppressed desires or unresolved trauma. Jung believed that the psyche is always striving toward wholeness, and part of that process involves encountering the people who reflect what we most need to acknowledge. These meetings, especially when they feel fated, serve as invitations to look inward. Yet the work is rarely complete within the initial encounter. Often the emotional charge becomes overwhelming, the relationship destabilizes, or life circumstances intervene. People separate, but the psychological threads remain. The connection lingers not because of sentimentality, but because the inner work has not yet been finished. The parts of ourselves activated by the other remain alive within us. The unresolved emotions, the unanswered questions, and the hidden dynamics all continue to churn beneath the surface. This is where the concept of synchronicity becomes essential. Jung introduced synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence, an event in the external world that reflects an inner psychological state. When two people meet again after time apart, it is often under circumstances that feel too aligned to be random. A chance encounter, a sudden message, or a reappearance during a life transition may be the psyche's way of signaling that deeper integration is now possible. The unconscious, working through archetypal patterns, seems to orchestrate these reunions when both individuals are ready to confront what was previously avoided or misunderstood. The idea that the universe chooses people to cross again aligns with Jung's understanding of the self, the totality of the psyche, including both conscious and unconscious elements. The self seeks wholeness and often uses outer relationships to push the individual toward that goal. When two people are meant to evolve together, their paths may diverge temporarily, allowing space for transformation. But if the inner work is not yet complete, the gravitational pull remains. The unconscious seeks resolution, and the psyche remains alert to any opportunity to return to what was left open. Reunion, in this sense, is not a reward or a romantic ideal. It is a reflection of unfinished psychological business. The pull is not only toward the other person, but toward the parts of the self that were awakened by them. This is why, when they cross paths again, there is often a heightened emotional awareness, a sense of déjà vu, and a deeper readiness to engage. The soul recognizes that the work can now continue, perhaps in a more conscious, integrated way. In the Jungian tradition, what begins in projection must end in integration. The other person is not the answer, but the mirror. They reflect what still needs to be healed, seen, and claimed within. So when two people find themselves reunited after a significant passage of time, it's not simply fate. It's the psyche's deeper mechanism for healing, inviting both individuals to meet, not only each other, but the unfinished parts of themselves. Few psychological mechanisms are as powerful and as misunderstood as projection. According to Carl Jung, projection is the process by which we unconsciously attribute parts of ourselves onto others, especially those we are deeply drawn to. In the context of intense relationships, this becomes a fertile ground for illusion. When two people feel inexplicably connected, what often drives the bond is not pure recognition of the other, but a profound encounter with their own unconscious content mirrored back at them. This is where the myth of the one takes root, not in reality, but in the symbolic charge the other carries. From the Jungian perspective, the idea of a singular fated soulmate is not literal, but archetypal. We are not drawn to someone because they are our perfect match in a rational sense, but because they reflect qualities, both light and shadow, that we have not yet integrated. The beloved becomes a screen onto which we project everything we long for, everything we fear, and everything we have disowned in ourselves. They become the embodiment of an inner image, the anima or animus. These are the inner feminine or masculine archetypes that live in the unconscious of every individual, influencing whom we are magnetized toward and how we perceive them. When this projection is active, the experience feels magical. We idealize the other person, interpreting coincidences as signs and emotional resonance as destiny. The connection seems otherworldly, as if orchestrated by something greater than ourselves. And in many ways it is, but not because the other person is our completion. Rather, the psyche is using the relationship as a mirror for our own psychological evolution. The universe, through symbolic experience, is leading us back to ourselves. However, projection is inherently unstable. As the relationship deepens, cracks begin to show. The idealized image cannot be maintained, and reality sets in. This is where many connections falter, when the dissonance between the inner image and the actual person becomes too great. Jung emphasized that what was once a divine union can quickly become a battlefield of disappointment and disillusionment. The same person who once felt like destiny can now feel like a threat simply because they no longer carry our projections in the way we desire. This disillusionment is not a failure, it is a critical part of the individuation process. The collapse of projection marks the beginning of true relationship, not its end. Only when we retrieve our projections and begin to see the other person as they truly are, complex, flawed, and real, can authentic intimacy emerge. But for that to happen, we must first confront what we were projecting in the first place. Sometimes the intensity of the initial connection makes this process too overwhelming. The break may feel sudden, tragic, or unresolved. Yet Jung reminds us that the unconscious never abandons its purpose. Even in separation, the psyche continues its work beneath the surface. We may find ourselves haunted, not by the other person, but by the parts of ourselves that were activated through them. These unresolved projections remain alive within us, waiting for the moment when we are ready to face them consciously. This is why reunions often carry such emotional weight. When two people meet again, especially after time and inner work, the dynamic has shifted. If they have done the necessary inner exploration, the projections may have less power. The other person no longer appears as the one, but as a mirror, a companion in growth rather than an idol of completion. This shift opens the door to genuine connection, one that is rooted in mutual recognition rather than unconscious fantasy. The illusion of the one is seductive because it promises wholeness without the struggle of inner transformation. But Jungian psychology offers a deeper truth. Wholeness is not found in another person, but in the integration of the psyche itself. Relationships become sacred not because they complete us, but because they reveal the work we still must do. So when the universe brings two people together again, it is not to fulfill a fantasy, but to offer a second chance, one grounded in awareness, not illusion. Separation, though often experienced as pain or loss, plays a crucial role in Jungian psychology. It is not merely the end of a connection, it is the fertile ground for individuation. In Jung's view, individuation is the process of becoming the unique, whole person you are meant to be by integrating the unconscious into consciousness. Relationships, especially those charged with deep emotional and symbolic meaning, are often the spark that begins this journey. But it is often in their dissolution, not their fulfillment, that the true work begins. When two people who once felt inseparable are pulled apart by conflict, life circumstances, timing, or internal shifts, something is set in motion beneath the surface. The intense emotional charge does not simply disappear. Instead, it is internalized. What once was projected onto the other must now be faced within. This shift from outer attachment to inner reflection is a defining moment in psychological growth. While the conscious mind may seek reconciliation or closure, the unconscious is quietly initiating a deeper transformation. The pain of separation often reveals the parts of the psyche that were bound up in the relationship. Grief, longing, confusion, or even numbness point not just to the absence of the other, but to the unclaimed aspects of the self that the relationship once brought to life. Jung understood that these moments of suffering are not detours. They are central to the path. Just as night dreams reflect our hidden truths, so too do breakups, silences, and distance bring forth the material necessary for individuation. This is especially true when the relationship was archetypal in nature, when the other person embodied an anima or animus figure, or when the connection stirred the deep waters of the unconscious. In such cases, separation often feels unbearable because the relationship was not only about the other person, it was about meeting a part of oneself through the other. When that vessel is removed, it can feel as if we are left with a void. But this void is not empty. It is pregnant with potential. It is the space where the ego must step aside so that a new version of the self can emerge. During this time, the individual may be drawn inward. Dreams become more vivid. Emotional patterns become clearer. Personal myths begin to surface. It is in the solitude that one can begin to ask, what was this person showing me about myself? What part of me did I lose in them? What part did they awaken that I now need to claim? These questions are not about the relationship. They are about the soul's evolution. And in this inner dialogue, the psyche begins to reorganize. Jung often spoke of the symbolic death and rebirth cycle as essential for transformation. Separation is a form of symbolic death. It dismantles the familiar structure of identity that was built around the connection, but in its wake, a rebirth becomes possible if the individual has the courage to confront their inner world rather than seek distraction or quick comfort. This is the moment where projection can be withdrawn, the shadow can be faced, and deeper layers of the self can be reclaimed. It is also important to understand that individuation does not mean isolation. It means becoming whole. Paradoxically, it often requires stepping away from those we love in order to fully become who we are. The relationship, while precious, may have been shaped by unconscious needs, dependencies, or fantasies. The separation allows each person to see more clearly, not just the truth of the other, but the truth of themselves. Only through this process can authentic love and connection emerge, free from the distortions of the unexamined psyche. Sometimes, after a period of separation and deep inner work, two people may find their paths crossing once again. If this happens, it is not a return to what was, but a meeting of who they have become. The energy has shifted. The dynamics are no longer dominated by unconscious forces, but by conscious choice. This is the gift of individuation. It does not erase the past, but transforms its meaning. Separation was not the end. It was the necessary container in which both individuals could evolve toward their own center. In this way, what felt like a rupture was actually a ritual. It was the soul's way of moving toward its own completeness. And if the universe does bring them back together, it is not by chance, but because the inner work has created the conditions for something deeper to unfold. When two people meet again after a long separation, it is not simply the continuation of a previous relationship. It is the meeting of two transformed psyches. In Jungian terms, such a reunion may signify that a cycle of individuation has unfolded and that both individuals have integrated significant aspects of their unconscious selves. What once was driven by projection, desire, and unconscious need now becomes something rooted in conscious awareness. The person standing before you is no longer the symbol they once represented, but a human being, complex, whole, and real. This shift is profound. In early stages of relationship, especially those tinged with archetypal energy, the other is often perceived through a veil. They appear as an embodiment of inner longing, carrying the projected images of anima or animus, savior or destroyer, fantasy or fear. But over time, and especially through the pain and solitude of separation, those projections begin to fade. What remains is not an illusion, but the essence of real connection, stripped of idealization and ready to be rebuilt on a new foundation. Jung believed that the self, the central archetype of wholeness and integration, guides the psyche toward growth through inner and outer experiences. Reunion, then, is not random. It is often the symbolic reflection of an internal state of readiness. When each person has done the inner work, facing their shadows, reclaiming their projections, and integrating the fragmented aspects of their psyche, the universe no longer needs to push them apart. The unconscious no longer needs to disrupt the bond for the sake of development. Now something else becomes possible: authentic union. This new encounter carries a different tone. Instead of the intoxication of fantasy, there is clarity. Instead of clinging to imagined roles, there is acceptance of individuality. Both people may recognize how much has changed, not only in each other but within themselves. There is less urgency and more presence, less expectation and more curiosity. The intense emotional charge that once overwhelmed them may now feel grounded, as if the fire has been tempered into steady warmth. The integrated self is not afraid of depth. It does not require another to complete it, but welcomes another who complements the journey. In this space, love becomes a conscious choice rather than an unconscious compulsion. Each person takes responsibility for their inner world. They do not blame or idolize, but relate from a place of mutual respect and inner stability. This is what makes the reunion so powerful. Not that it feels fated, but that it reflects the quiet triumph of inner transformation. It is important to note that this reunion is not always romantic. Sometimes it is a reconnection of souls, a friendship reborn, or a brief exchange that closes an open loop. Whatever form it takes, it holds symbolic significance. It tells the psyche you have grown, you have faced what needed to be faced, and now you are ready to meet this person not as a projection, but as a whole being, both yours and theirs. This kind of meeting is often filled with awe, not because the universe handed you back what you once lost, but because you realize that nothing was truly lost. Every moment of distance, silence, longing, and inner work was essential. The time apart was not a punishment, but a sacred initiation. And now, whether the reunion leads to a shared path or simply a meaningful closure, it carries the weight of something real. In Jungian psychology, the self is not just an internal force. It expresses itself through synchronicity, dreams, symbols, and relationships. When two people cross again after deep transformation, it is the self that recognizes the mirror once more. It does not seek to control the outcome, but honors the moment. And in that moment, the past is rewritten, not by erasing what was, but by seeing it in a new light. Reunion, in this context, is not the prize. It is the reflection of inner alchemy. What once was fragmented has found cohesion. What once was unconscious is now illuminated. Two paths that diverge for growth may now walk side by side, not because they must, but because they can. This is not the return to something old, but the arrival at something new, something born not of fate, but of transformation. And in that space, love becomes not only possible, but sacred. When two people cross paths again after a period of distance, something deeper than chance may be at play. From a Jungian perspective, these reunions are not random events. They are reflections of the psyche's ongoing pursuit of wholeness. Every connection, every separation, and every return serves as a mirror for the inner journey. Through projection, loss, and individuation, the soul carves a path toward integration. And when the inner work has been done, the universe, or rather, the self, may orchestrate a new meeting, not to repeat the past, but to honor the transformation that has occurred. In the end, it's not about whether two people stay together, but whether they have grown enough to see and accept each other clearly. The reunion becomes sacred, not because it fulfills an old story, but because it opens the door to a new one, written by two conscious selves who have faced their shadows, integrated their truth, and come home to themselves. If this journey spoke to something within you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch the video on screen. It may be the next step in your path of awakening. Your story isn't over, it's evolving, and the universe always knows when it's time to turn the page.